Hey there guys, MCB here, and today we are going to be playing some Minecraft Invaded Lands Kit PvP, and we are going to be doing an updated version of how I PvP, because there was quite a bit of stuff that I left out of the last one, a little bit of false information, well, not necessarily false, but I mean, I guess probably could have explained it a lot better, and yeah, so we're gonna just get straight into it. No long intro or anything like I have on most of my videos. I gotta work on that. But yeah, so we're gonna start with a quick recap of what I said in the last video, which is basically sprint resets, straight lining, and strafing. So sprint reset, pretty simple thing. You can do W taps, which you hold your sprint key and then you do W and then just let go of W every once in a while. Time it well if you want. You can do S taps, which instead of letting go of W, you hold W, but you press S, and it essentially does the same thing, but I've heard that S tap works better on people with high ping, and I sort of get that. It's pretty similar to W tap, but I've heard it works better on high ping players, and I have tested it on high ping players, and they're right, you know, it works pretty well. You've also got shifting, which is the most overpowered, I'd definitely say, and there's a reason for that, which is basically the way that Minecraft calculates reach. It's from I don't know to I don't know. I don't actually remember. I think it's like the edge of the player hitbox to their head or to the center of your enemy or something like that. But basically, due to how it's calculated, and when you're lower than the player, you get more reach, and when you're higher than the player, you get less reach. And if you've ever PvP'd on ladders, for example, you've probably seen this. You're able to hit people above you at what looks like 4 blocks, and they're not able to hit you at what looks like, you know, 2 blocks or something like that. But yeah, that's essentially how that all works. And yeah, finally we have block hit. This one is also pretty overpowered because you take less damage, but you also, you know, reset your sprint, so that's pretty nice. I personally block it, and when I'm doing sumo, I W tap. I've done shift tapping. It's not bad, but I just don't really like it. It's kind of awkward to shift tap for me, but if you want to move your shift key to like C or R or something like that and shift tap, you know, that works too. I tried that, it works well, but I just don't really want my shift key to be a weird key. So yeah. Alright, so now we have the classic debate of strafing versus straight lining, and I'm going to end it right here, okay? Straight lining is the way to go, because when you strafe, there's only really one way to strafe, which is like this. I mean, you can do it quicker, you can do it slower, it doesn't really matter, but it's hard to W tap, it's hard to S tap, it's hard to shift tap. Block hitting works pretty well. It's not really easy to bow, though that won't be coming into play very much when you're PvPing normally, I'd assume. Rodding might be a little bit harder, aiming might be a little bit harder. But when you're straight lining, guys, there's so many different ways you can do it. You can just do normal straight lining like this. You know, you can go back and forth slightly. You can jump when you straight line. You can't really do that when you're strafing. This doesn't work, alright? But this totally works. I do it all the time, man. It's super overpowered because it throws off their aim a lot. It's a lot easier to rod, W tap, S tap, shift tap, bow, etc. It's just really that overpowered, alright? And there are servers where strafing is a viable option, although I wouldn't say better than straight lining. Like, for example, Silex PvP would be a great example of a strafer-friendly server, but otherwise, not really. And on Invaded, I've been playing for quite a while with both different methods, and straight lining definitely seems like the way to go. So I'm going to be showing you a few clips of PvP, mainly with the straight lining that I was talking about, but I mean, maybe we'll do a little bit of strafing if I can find like some way to do that and actually get a decent combo. But yeah. Next up, we have inventory organization, alright, and this is probably the most important thing in PvP, because say you do not have like UHC bow skills, like you don't play like this, alright? Or say you can't block it like I can. I mean, pretty much anyone can block it. But say you can't do those things, you can still hit people, alright? You can still do damage. You just won't do it as well. But if you don't know where your sword is, you can't PvP at all. If you don't know where your bow is, you can't bow at all, alright? So this is probably the most important part of PvP, and I'm going to teach you the best optimal way, I guess, to organize your inventory for PvP, alright? So let's begin with the obvious sword and bow. Sword always goes in slot 1, always, always, always. There are people that put it in slot 5. I mean, if you want to, you can, but I personally wouldn't suggest it. And slot 9 is always where your bow is, so that it's just one scroll away, alright? If you have blocks in your game mode, like I personally don't have blocks, because this is Invaded Lands, PvP, and not like Sky Wars or HCF or whatever, you want to put those blocks in the second slot if it's a major thing, like if you're going to be placing a lot of blocks. Again, this would be like Bed Wars, Sky Wars, etc. Or if it's something minor that you aren't going to be blocking up a lot with, like say an HCF or KPVP, but you still want to keep it in your hotbar, put it like 8 maybe. 8 would be a good idea. Arrows, you can put this pretty much anywhere in your inventory, just don't put it in your hotbar. I personally suggest the direct middle of your inventory, but yeah, anywhere pretty much works. Then you want whatever you're going to be using as, I guess, instant projectiles, I'd like to call them, which would be things like snowballs, eggs, fishing rod, etc. I think those are the only ones, actually, because a bow actually like takes time to charge, but a rod, you have a rod, I'm sure I have a rod somewhere in here. Rod, you can just do it immediately. So yeah, this always goes in the third slot, by the way, because it depends on the keyboard you have, obviously, but on most keyboards that I've ever used, the second key you have to actually let go of control to get to, and that's why that's blocks instead of rod. You could do rod, but if you accidentally overscroll with your rod, that can obviously, I mean, or honestly, that really can be like the end of the fight. That can be what kills you if you're not able to get to your rod or snowballs or whatever in time. So it's much better to overscroll on a block than it is to overscroll on a rod, because a block, most times you're probably not going to be like falling into the void, and there's also, you know, most times you're probably not going to overscroll, but when you're in like intense PvP with a rod, you're more likely to overscroll and more likely to actually not want to overscroll. So yeah, it's basically really counterintuitive to put this here, alright? Then your healing, and anything of that sort would be going in these slots, alright? I'd personally suggest something like healing should go in these 3 slots, and then if you have other potions like speed or harming or poison or anything, that can go in these 3 slots. And those are, or these 2 slots, sorry. And that's really all of the important stuff, honestly. Basically, keep anything super important to your first 5 slots and your 9th slot, because your 9th slot is only 1 scroll away, your 2nd slot's 1 scroll away, and your 3rd, 4th, and 5th are pretty easy to hotkey to, but 6, 7, 8, and 9, you usually are going to have to like significantly rotate your hand or take it off of the keys even to actually get over there. So it's not the greatest spot to put your really important stuff. All right, don't be having your sword in 8, your blocks in 6, your healing in 7, and your like regenerate, or not your regeneration, having your like weakness potion in slot 1. All right, that doesn't work. Okay, you can't be playing like that. But yeah, that's basically how I do it. Sword in slot 1, then blocks or healing if there is no blocks, then your fishing rod, more healing, more potions, and bow. And it's pretty simple, but honestly, just having a nice, simple, easy to get to layout is probably the biggest thing in PvP to influence a fight, you know? So yeah, on to the next part. So I think that's going to be it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully this will help you guys a bit with PvP. Now some of you might be better at PvP even than I am, but I know that a lot of you have been having issues with it recently. A few of you have even asked me to make videos like this, so here you are. Here's an updated version with a little bit more detail than my first one, and hopefully it's not as, I guess, long and monotonous and boring as the last one, because it was kind of boring. I'm just going to be completely honest. But yeah, anyways, that's it. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in my next episode of Invaded Lands KPVP. Peace.